good morning students. Now we are continuing next one, Kilafat Moment. What it is? Kilafat Moment. Okay, it was a movement organized by Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. They are known as the Ali brothers. And who organized it? Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. What they organized? Kilafat Movement. What is the spell of Kilafat? Khilafat. Kilafat Movement. Okay. The aim of this movement was to protest against the injustice done by Turkey by British after the First World War. We have seen what happened here in India after First World War. In same way, Turkey people also faced many injustice from whom? British people. So because of that one, to overcome that one or to protest against the decision taken by the British people about Turkey to remove that one, to protest against that, they started Khilafat movement. Next one, the Turkish Sultan had the title of Caliph. The Muslim considered him as the spiritual leader. The Turkish Sultan was known as what? Caliph. 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 And what according to Muslims, they was considering him, he is the spiritual leader of all the Muslim community wherever they are living. So many Muslims joined in this movement. So Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, when they started this Khilafat movement, many Muslims joined with them because of it is against their spiritual head. Then Gandhiji decided to launch the non-cooperation movement. What was Gandhiji's thought? He thought or decided to launch a non-cooperation movement. It is just after First World War. It was just after First World War. Khilafat movement also just after First World War. The First World War added to the misery of the Indian people that we have seen already. Heavy taxes, high prices, famine and epidemics made people's life miserable. That also we already discussed yesterday. So Rowlatt Act invited large-scale protest throughout the country. So in Rowlatt Act, what happened? Many people, they faced many problems, and because of that one, many people came out of the house to protest against the Rowlatt Act. Jallianwala Bagh massacre and the injustice done to the Punjab made Indians angry. So in Jallianwala Bagh, we have seen that one people, some of the people, they gathered there to protest against the national leader's arrest, and some other group of people, they gathered there to celebrate Baisakhi movement. So both of these people together was there and attacked on them, and many people killed, thousands of people killed, many were injured. And this made Indians, or not only the Punjab people, all of Indians, we got angry. Muslims became unhappy due to ill treat of Turkey. They started Khilafat movement. When Gandhiji started non-cooperation movement, more or less same time only, Muslims also started which one? Khilafat movement. Why? They was unhappy about the ill treatment or given the punishment to their spiritual head. The Congress session at Nagpur 1920 adopted Gandhiji's idea of non-cooperation, and 1918-19 discussions was going on, and 1920 Nagpur session adopted Gandhiji's idea of non-cooperation movement. So the Congress session at Nagpur 1920, that also used to ask for map question. So what we discuss about Khilafat movement, as well as we discuss about Khilafat movement and starting of non-cooperation movement. Now we are moving to next part, non-cooperation movement, how it was and what was the procedure or the steps of non-cooperation movement we are going to see. Non-cooperation was launched under Gandhiji's leadership in 1920. It aimed at protesting against the injustice done to Punjab and the Turkey to attain Punjab and Turkey and to attain Swaraj. So that is the one new idea given by Gandhiji, that is attain Swaraj. The attain Swaraj, that was another one of the major policy or the aim taken by Gandhiji. So then there was two aims. One is the protest against the injustice done to Punjab as well as Turkey and attain Swaraj or complete freedom. Educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. When we studied French Revolution in 9th standard, we have seen that one. Educated middle class only getting more inspired with this revolutionary activity. So here in India also, educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. In the cities or towns, who led the movement? Non-cooperation movement, educated middle class. And educational institutions, law courts and the foreign goods were boycotted. Education institutions boycotted by students as well as the teachers and professors, and law courts also boycotted, and foreign goods also boycotted. Then peasants organized a movement against talukdars and landlords in the villages under the leadership of Baba Ramchandra. In the villages, the leader that was Baba Ramchandra, and under him the village people or the peasants organized movement against whom? Talukdars, who is collecting the revenue from the farmers, as well as landlords where it is in the village. Then tribal people started an armed struggle in the Guttan hills of Andhra Pradesh under the leadership of Alluri Sitaram Raju. So that is another one leader from tribal people. What is his name? Alluri, A-L-L-U-R-I, Alluri Sitaram, S-I-T-A-R-A-M, Sitaram Raju, R-A-J-U, Raju. Where there was under leadership of Alluri Sitaram Raju, were people, tribal people gathered. It is in Guttam hills of Andhra Pradesh, and they also started what type movement? Instead of non-violent movement, they taken armed struggle. They started armed struggle. Then workers in the plantation of Assam started a struggle to get the right to free movement. The workers of the plantations, what they thought? They thought like that Swaraj means getting freedom. And what was the condition of plantation workers? Plantation workers, they were suffering. There was Inland Immigration Act, like that one act passed by British people. In that they are saying like that if once they joined in this plantation work, they can't move out of the plantation without permission, and very rarely they was getting linked with their villages. Once they entered means normally they can't come out. That was the condition. So for plantation workers, they also joined, and for what purpose they joined? To get a right to free movement. They want to get chance or freedom to move out and in the plantation. Then Chauri Chaura incident forced Gandhiji to call off the movement. Then in Chauri Chaura market area, people came together to protest against the injustice of the British people, and it reached to the violent one. They went and picketed police station and taken the weapons in their hand and started to fight against the British people. That's why Gandhiji, what he done? He said to stop the non-cooperation movement. So let us see those who participated in non-cooperation movement and for what purpose, like that. General understanding about non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement was launched under Gandhiji's leadership in 1920s. It aimed at protesting against the injustice done to Punjab and Turkey and to attain Swaraj. Educate middle class led the movement in towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts and the foreign goods were boycotted. Then if you are looking deeper to the textbook, we can see the foreign goods was bringing here from Britain, that become only half. We was purchasing more than 100 crore rupees things from Britain, and within 2 years it reached to only 50 crores, like that. Then peasants organized movements against talukdars and landlords in the villages under the leadership of Baba Ramchandra. It happened in MP UP area. Then the tribal people started an armed struggle in the Guttam hills of Andhra Pradesh under the leadership of Alluri Sitaram Raju. Then workers in the plantation of Assam started a struggle to get a right to free movement. Then Chauri Chaura incident forced Gandhiji to call off movement. So we are moving to next part. Differing stance with the non-cooperation movement. Different group of people, how they understood the non-cooperation movement, that we are going to see. movement in town and cities. In the city and town, we said educated middle class only taken the leadership. Then what was their understanding, how they participated? Let us see. Educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts and the council election were boycotted. So they concentrated on their education institutions. Those who was working as a teacher or professor as well as student, they boycotted. And law courts, we was using the court made by the British people, that also we boycotted. Then council election also boycotted by the in cities and towns, especially the middle class educated people. Foreign clothes and other goods were burnt in bonfires. They taken all the foreign clothes and goods out of the house and kept together in the village, city area, in different areas, and they burned it. And people began to use khadi clothes instead of foreign clothes. What they started to use? They started to use khadi clothes. Government servants resigned their job. Liquor shops were picketed. So the government officials like Sipahi or the peon or governor, like that post who was holding, they also resigned from their job. And those who got that titles, different titles like that also they skipped from that titles. Then liquor shops were picketed. So if questions comes like that, how the towns and cities participated in the non-cooperation movement? So 4 points are there. Educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts and council elections were boycotted. Foreign clothes and other goods were burned in bonfire. And you can say next one, khadi as a fourth point. People began to use khadi clothes instead of foreign clothes. Government servants resigned in their jobs. Liquor shops were picketed. The next one, non-cooperation movement slowed down in towns and cities. Why the non-cooperation movement was not that much successful, or why the town and city people started to slow down, or why their participation it decreased? Khadi clothes were very costly. The poor were not able to buy them, because Indian clothes we was getting very high price in British market, European market as well as American market. So we was sending our clothes very costly only. And it was the olden days, khadi clothes was the man that is not with the machinery and all we was making. So it was very costly when we are comparing to the machine made clothes. So the poor people, they was not able to purchase that one. Then Indians boycotted British institutions like law courts and education institutions, but alternative institution did not came up. So people had to stop boycott. So many people was ready to boycott, or many people boycotted. Then what happened? There was no other institution, alternative institution never made by Indians for that purpose. So those who boycotted, they went and joined again in the which one? The British school, British law court and all. Then movement in the countryside. Countryside means village side. Peasants movement in Awadh. Awadh means it is in UP. A peasants movement was organized by Baba Ramchandra. Already we discussed. It was against the landlords and talukdars. That also we discussed. Reduction of rent and abolition of beggar were their main demand. Here beggar means the work without getting salary, means the like slaves, they want to work in the field of the landlords. So against that, as well as to reduce the rent of the land, for that purpose only people taken the initiative or joining with whom? Non-cooperation movement. They formed the Awadh Kisan Sabha. For that purpose, they started a association or organization. What was the name? Awadh Kisan Sabha. Then let us see about Baba Ramchandra. He led a peasants movement in Awadh against talukdars and landlords. He demanded reduction of land, abolition of beggar and boycott of landlords. October 1920, he formed Awadh Kisan Sabha with the help of Nehru. Then they started one, and within 2 years we can see it is increased near about 200 small associations nearby area. So about Baba Ramchandra, if you are getting like the 3-mark question or 1-mark question, then you can write this one. He was the leader of Awadh peasants movement in Awadh, and it was against talukdars and landlords. And what was his demand? Reduction of rent, abolition of beggar, and boycott of landlords. Then they started Awadh Kisan Sabha with the help of Nehru in 1920 October. Then tribal movement. We are moving to tribal area. Already we have seen that Alluri Sidaram Raju in Guttan Hills of Andhra Pradesh. Tribals started a movement under leadership of Alluri Sidaram Raju. Tribals wanted to get back the traditional rights of our forests. That we have seen when we studied 8th standard lesson about tribals and forest policy of the British. British said like that tribal people can't use the forest land as before how they was using. So the tribal people, what they are asking, they want to get it back. They want to get the chance to use our traditional rights how they was using the forest in the same way. The methods followed by the tribal and peasants were against the Gandhian method of non-violence. So only thing what happened, the tribal people, they used with this they used what we can say, hunters and gatherers. So normally they are working with their small weapons, not like that mechanized weapon and all. So unknowingly it reached to, or what the Alluri Sidaram Raju given the instruction like that they should take weapons in their hand, like that they followed violent method of struggle. Then about Alluri Sidaram Raju. He led a movement of tribal people in the Guttan Hills of Andhra Pradesh. Many people considered him as the incarnation of God, means God, birth of God as a human being here on earth, like that. People started to think about Alluri Sidaram Raju. They believed that he had many special powers. What was the thinking of the people? He having many special power. He supported Gandhiji and asked his followers to wear khadi and stop drinking. And he was started with good intention. He said to his followers to use khadi clothes as well as stop drinking and all. Then slowly it reached to violent movement, but the organized and armed struggle against the British. Slowly, but he organized the protest against the British that become armed one. Then so we have seen how the tribal people participated in the non-cooperation movement, as well as about the leader of that particular group, that is Alluri Sidaram Raju. Then next one, movement in the plantations. Workers in the plantation of Assam demanded the right to move freely in and out of the estates or plantations. So for plantation workers, Swaraj means, or the non-cooperation movement means what it is, they want to get freedom to move in and out of the estate or plantations. They opposed the Inland Immigration Act of 1859. And which year? 1859. Which act? Inland Immigration Act, and which took away the right to free movement. Because of this act, what they can't move freely where they want. When they heard about non-cooperation movement, they moved to their villages. When they heard about the non-cooperation movement or Swaraj, what they thought, they can go freely. So they started to move to their villages. They thought that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in the villages. Why they moved to their villages? They thought like that Gandhi Raj or Swaraj, that is what they will get land in their own village. However, they were caught and brought back to estates. But the police came or army came and taken them back to the plantations. Then next point, withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement. Why Gandhiji withdraw the non-cooperation movement? Let us see. Gandhiji withdrew the non-cooperation movement because first one, the movement became violent in some places that we have seen already. It happened in tribal area also and little bit in Assam area also, plantation area also. So not only one area, many areas here and there like that it become violent movement, especially were in February 1922 in Chauri Chaura. It is in Uttar Pradesh. People turned violent and set fire to a police station. 22 policemen were killed in this incident. Gandhiji was against violence. So small violence it happened that time. Gandhiji given guidance, don't make like this violent movement and all. But in 1922 February, what happened in Chauri Chaura? It is in UP. That also meant for map question. That Chauri Chaura, and they become very violent and they set fire and to what police station, and 22 police officials killed in this incident. So Gandhiji's idea was broken. The movement slowed down in urban areas. He thought that it was necessary to train the people in non-violent satyagraha. At the same time, the town area, one is this Chauri Chaura incident, or in different parts the people become turned into violent movements. At the same time, in city area, the movement become very slow because there was no other setup to adjust with the new situation. So because of that one, Gandhiji called off the non-cooperation movement. Then, okay, I think this much enough. We will revise total what we studied today. We will revise from what we studied. We started to think about the non-cooperation, Rowlatt Act onwards. Kilafat Moment onwards. It was the movement organized by Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. We are calling them Ali brothers. The aim of this movement was to protest against the injustice done to Turkey by Britain after the First World War. The Turkish Sultan had a little title Caliph. The Muslims considered him as the spiritual leader. So many Muslims joined this movement. Gandhiji decided to launch the non-cooperation movement. First World War added the misery of the Indians of the Indian people. Heavy taxes, high prices, famine, epidemics made people's life miserable. Rowlatt Act invited large-scale protests throughout the country. Jallianwala Bagh massacre and injustice done to Punjab made Indians angry. Muslims became unhappy due to the ill treat of Turkey. They started Kilafat Moment. The Congress session at Nagpur 1920 adopted Gandhiji's idea of non-cooperation. The non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation was launched under Gandhiji's leadership in 1920. It aimed at protesting against the injustice done to Punjab and Turkey and to attain Swaraj. Educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts, and foreign goods were boycotted. Peasants organized movements against talukdars and landlords in villages under the leadership of Baba Ramchandra. Tribal people started an armed struggle in Guttam hills of Andhra Pradesh under the leadership of Alluri Siddharam Raju. Workers in the plantation of Assam started to struggle to get right to free movement. Chauri Chaura incident forced Gandhiji to call off movement. Then differing stands with the non-cooperation movement. Movement in towns and cities. Educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts, and the council elections were boycotted. Foreign clothes and other goods were burnt in bonfire. People began to use khadi clothes. Government servants resigned their job. Liquor shops were picketed. Non-cooperation movement slowed down in towns and cities. Khadi clothes were very costly. The poor were not able to buy them. Indians boycotted British institutions like law courts and educational institutions, but alternative institutions did not come up, so people had to stop boycott. Movement in the countryside or in the village. Peasants movement. In Awadh, a peasants movement was organized by Baba Ramchandra. It was against landlords and talukdars. Reduction of rent and abolition of beggar were their main demand. They formed the Awadh Kisan Sabha with the help of Jawaharlal Nehru. Then about Baba Ramchandra. He led a peasants movement in Awadh against talukdars and landlords. He demanded reduction of rent, abolition of beggar and boycott of landlords. In October 1920, he formed Awadh Kisan Sabha with the help of Nehru. Tribal movement. In Guttan Hills of Andhra Pradesh, tribals started a movement under the leadership of Alluri Siddharam Raju. Tribals wanted to get back their traditional rights over forest. The methods followed by the tribals and peasants were against Gandhian method of non-violence. They followed violent method of struggle. Then about Alluri Siddharam Raju. He led a movement of the tribal people in Guttan Hills of Andhra Pradesh. Many people considered him as an incarnation of God. They believed that they had many special powers. He supported Gandhiji and asked his followers to wear khadi and stop drinking. But he organized an armed struggle against the British. Movement in the plantations. Workers in the plantations of the Assam demanded the right to move freely in and out the estate. They opposed the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, which took away the right to free movement. When they heard about non-cooperation movement, they moved to their villages. They thought that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their villages. However, they were caught and brought back. Withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji withdrew the non-cooperation movement because the movement became violent in some places. Especially in February 1922 in Chauri Chaura, Uttar Pradesh, people turned violent and set fire to a police station. 22 policemen were killed in this incident. Gandhiji was against violence. The movement slowed down in urban areas. He thought it was necessary to train people in non-violent satyagraha. Okay, rest part we will study next day. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.